New age, there are digital and old school paper ways to do things, and neither is right or wrong, but let's just talk a little bit about how to track things. I personally am more of a paper or kind of analog tracker. I like to visually see what I'm tracking. I also like to do the check mark with some pen or implement. That brings me a lot of joy. So the two examples that I'll show you for paper are super simple. The idea is not to make this hard. The more difficult your tracking is, the less likely you are to do it. You'll totally understand this if you've ever tried to count your calories. Don't recommend it, but you might be keeping a food journal and you're doing it either in paper or on your phone, and it's a lot of work to put every single thing in and how much it was and tally things up to where most people don't actually stick with that. But this idea is super simplistic. It's a whiteboard. I keep this on my fridge. This is not related to language, but again, all of these things are super applicable. I've been working on going for walks. I just want to get outside and walk more. The requirement to check one of these boxes for me is it has to be a 15-minute walk. More than that doesn't matter, but if it's less than 15, that kind of doesn't really count. Like going to get the mail doesn't count. I set a goal of how many I wanted to do it and a timeline for doing it. Super simple. And if you look at this, whatever day in the month of June or May it is, you can visually tell how well you're doing. And I think that's the most important part of one of these trackers. I love a progress bar. I think we all do. When you're doing this course, you have one. You want to know, where am I right now compared to where I want to be? And if it's June 29th, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to be able to complete this. But if it's middle of June, I say, I'm so close. I only have a couple left. So I really like the ability to keep this really simple, set some terms, which are, it's just got to be a 15-minute walk. This is how long I'm giving myself. So I knew I wasn't going to do it every single day. I'm also out of town sometimes. So I said, I'll give myself about, 40 days to get 30 walks in so that I have that little bit of reasonable, didn't get out because it was snowing or whatever it might be. So this is a whiteboard option. The reason I love this is because I stick it with the magnets to my fridge. So every time I come home from a walk, I can walk right over. And every time I open the fridge, I also get to see where I stand. The next one is you've seen this before. This is how I'm tracking my French progress, and I just put in my month 2. So I'm doing little boxes. This is a little bit more of a detailed tracker because it's telling me the dates as usual, but it's telling me the 4 pillars activities that I want to be doing. It's got the little review section to remind me to do that later. And then you can't really tell, but there's little numbers that are telling me like what that box represents in terms of time. So far you can tell visually. I've done a teeny bit of reading, and I've been getting into the podcast. I've been really enjoying that this month, and I find it really easy to do because I've been habit stacking with my drives. So it's been a lot easier to get that accomplished. But it's looking like I really need to sit down with my Udemy course that I'm working on, and also I need to be reading aloud more. I have trouble with that because at night, when I'm sitting on the couch with my partner, I don't really want to be speaking French aloud into the ether. So that might be something I need to try to do more during the day. But all of that I can recap from here, and this notebook is incredibly visible. I have it on my side table where I keep all of the projects and books and things that I'm learning so that it never gets too far from mind. So those are some paper options or some analog options because whiteboards aren't paper, but they require a pen or a pencil to complete. Some other options that you might want to use are you could use your calendar to do some tracking. The way that you would do that is you would put in an event for every study session, either in advance of when you want to do it to ensure that you do it, or if you're a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants, hey, I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to have the time to do it, but as soon as I complete a session, I'll put it on my calendar to show how long I studied for. Then at the end of the month, you can go back and look at your calendar and see how many, maybe pick a color for language learning. And you're like, oh, I see 7 dark blue squares. That means I studied on 7 days out of this month. So doing a calendar can be a really good idea. Lots of people already use one anyway. And my mental processing is something on the calendar is important. It's time bound. It's something I want to make sure I get done, and I honor what's on my calendar. If your calendar is just kind of a dumping ground for things, you don't really use it very often, it probably won't have the same relevance, but a calendar is a great place. Another is using an app. There are so many mood tracker apps. There are different things you can do, where they basically just give you the little boxes to fill in. Sometimes they can pose you questions. There's free and paid options. I personally am not using any of those right now, but I definitely have. I've also made my own habit trackers on a bullet journal, which is just a journal with dots on it. So that's been my analog version of it. But for those that travel or are out and about a lot, something that's in your phone that you can always make sure you have with you to keep track of is pretty nice. And it also doesn't require any more physical stuff around your space. So those are a couple of different options. A whiteboard, a piece of paper or dot grid, or like I have construction paper that sometimes it's colored, so I'll decorate it if I want it to look pretty. You can make trackers really visually appealing, and you want them to be. You want it to be something you look at and you're excited to look at or excited to make each month. You can get into your phone and use your calendar. You can use a notes app, just writing down the dates that you've studied, or you can use a paid or free kind of app that does all of these things. While it's not really my purview, there are plenty of options, I'm sure, that you can look for. So trying one of these would be a great start. Whatever you listened to during this video and went, ooh, that kind of sounds fun. There might have been one thing that you heard that you're like, ooh, I really like writing things out. I also enjoy checking the boxes. See if there are any habits or hobbies or anything that you've had to do where you're trying to keep track of things in your personal life, and how have you done it and how has it been effective? So if you find something that works for you in other areas, then maybe just apply that forward here. If you're new to the game and maybe you're even saying, this is a little daunting, I've never been asked to keep track of something like this before or succeeded at doing it, pick the thing that seems the easiest. And to me, that's probably a whiteboard or a taped up piece of paper on your fridge with little boxes for the month that just have, every time I study my language, I tick a box. That's a really easy way to get started. And every time you pass that mirror or the fridge, you get a look at, ooh, how am I doing on the progress bar? It's the middle of the month. Am I about halfway through my boxes? Do I need to speed up or slow down my study? Another thing I like to do is if I have a trip coming up, do I need to get more study in before, or was I planning to study on the plane or in my hotel? So just keeping aware of sort of where you are in time and how far you've gotten progress-wise with your language learning. So hopefully you found some ideas that you like. If you are looking for a paper tracker that you can just print out, there was a copy of it in the study plan. It was the last page with some little blue bubble dots you can kind of put check marks in. So if you want the easiest option, it would be hitting print on that or grabbing a piece of paper and filling it in. I hope you enjoy this process. I hope you find motivation in it, because as you start to gain momentum, which we've already talked about, you're going to see those boxes filling up and you're going to be so proud of yourself every time you look at it, because that is all stuff that you were not doing maybe before this course or maybe ever. And seeing how you're committing to what you wanted to do is going to boost you in all areas. So hope you find something you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.